Hi guys, me again. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about some of the scariest moments I've had while driving. I don't know if I had these moments because I was a female driver or if it was just luck of the draw those days. But anyway, let's get right into it. So, again, I'm reading off of papers, so if I keep looking down, don't mind me. Um, let's see. Okay, so I talked about this a little bit on my first video. Um, I was part of a drug deal unknowingly. So, I guess I'll talk more about that since that was really vague the first time around. Alright. So I picked up a guy and it was a normal ride at first, and then a few minutes in he asked me if we could stop by his friend's house because he needed to get something from his friend. So not out of the ordinary, because people ask to make stops all the time, whether it's to a store because they're not done drinking and they want to buy more beer, if it's to a drive-through window because they're hungry and want to get something to eat. I've even had people have me take them to the bank. Those are like different stories, but so totally not out of the ordinary. I didn't think much of it, so I said, sure, do you want me to put the address in, or are you gonna, direct me? So he gave me the directions. We pull up to his friend's house, still like nothing out of the ordinary. Normally when people get in the car, they sit in the back seat, but I don't know if it's Mac. I don't know if it's because I'm a female, but a lot of people tend to go for the back door, and when they realize I'm a woman, then they ask if it's okay for them to sit up front. I don't bite. So I always tell them it's fine, I don't want that, like, I guess, taxi feeling anyway. I'd rather it be more of a comfortable setting and environment. So I just kind of, yeah, whatever, get in the front. So he was in the front seat when we pulled up to his friend's house. He gets on his phone, calls his friend, tells his friend that he's here, to come out. So his friend comes out, and they so did not make it, like hidden what they were doing. They made it very apparent that they were doing like a handshake, and he handed him a little foil bag. I mean, it had to have been like a little bag wrapped in foil, but he made it very... Mac! Excuse the bird. He's going crazy. So he made it really obvious that he had it. And then he talked to his friend for a few minutes, and he had it in his hand. Like, he had a death grip on that thing. Like, I was gonna say, give me your drugs, share. I mean, it was like crazy. So I'm like, oh God, what do I say? I mean, it is my right to ask anybody, to get out of the car. I'm done with the ride or anything like that. But now I'm dealing with two men, and they were pretty big men. So, and I mean, I'm really petite and small. I think I've mentioned that before. I'm 5'1", weigh 110 pounds. So, I mean, I do carry pepper spray on me, but do I really want to go that route? So I was just like, okay, let's get through this, take him where he has to go, whatever. He ends up talking his friend into getting into the car with us. And at first his friend was like, no, I'm good, I have things to do at the house. And I was like, whew, but then his friend was like, all right, let me go lock up and get my shoes, because he came out in his socks. So his friend comes out, gets in the back seat, and now I'm with two drug offenders or drug dealers. I don't know. Thank God they were only going like a couple blocks up the street. So in my head, I'm thinking just get them to where they gotta go, get them out of my car, lock the doors, and drive. So that's what I did. And as soon as I felt I was a good distance away, I do admit I reported them. That's like the only time I've ever reported anybody for anything. But as a driver, you guys have to understand that, like, say my tail light is out for some reason, or the cops just think it's shady where I'm driving or something, I have no business in that neighborhood, they can pull you over for anything. And if they search the car, search the guy, they're not going to believe I had no knowledge of what the guy had. So I felt, like I don't know if it was so much of a responsibility, but to report them so that maybe Uber would do something about it and they wouldn't be allowed to ride in any more Ubers. That way, that problem wouldn't come up for any other drivers. So that's why I did that. Um, the next craziest story that was kind of scary was I was driving a couple home, and it was about a 20-minute ride. So we're on the freeway for a while, and I guess sometimes like the little navigation thing is completely off. So I'm following the navigation, and at the last minute the girl goes, "Oh no, get off on that exit." And I didn't notice that the gore between the right hand lane and the exit lane was actually slightly raised. So, and I didn't see anything of it. I could still make it, the exit's like right there. So I crossed the gore to try to exit where she wanted me to exit. Should not have done that. I flew over, and it was only slightly raised. It was like that high. It was like a little baby raise. But I'm driving a minivan. So I went flying over that thing. It busted out my um, passenger rear view tire. So as soon as we pulled off the freeway, like I could tell that something was off about one of my tires because the car was kind of driving funny. So I'm like, oh my god, I think I have a flat tire. So I'm like, hold on real quick, I'm gonna pull over and check the tires real quick. So I pulled over at a gas station and look, and sure enough, like my car was like shredded, or not my car, my tire was shredded like bad. So I'm like, oh fuck. And so I asked the guy, like, hey, I have a donut here, like, you think you can help me change the tires? Like, my bad. And so the girl was like really apologetic. She's like, no, you know what, it's my fault. And I'm like, no, it's my fault. I totally should have seen that it was raised, and I should have just, kept going, got off on the next exit. But she felt like it was her fault too because she told me to get off. So she was super sweet about it. So was her boyfriend, husband, I'm not sure. They were both like, no, it's fine, it's fine. She called AAA on her AAA card. They came out, changed my tire, put my donut on, put my tire in my trunk for me. And I was like, oh my god, lifesavers. And to top it off, because I ended the ride and closed the app, like turned it off as soon as that happened, because I didn't want them to keep getting charged for something I felt was my fault. As soon as I canceled their ride or ended their ride, her boyfriend, who's the one who requested the trip, gave me 5 stars. Like, that was so nice of them. They didn't have to do that. But that was something that was super scary for me because I didn't know if I messed up, like, the axles on my car or the alignment or something. So that was like one of those, oh my god, what do I do moments. But luckily, we all handled it really great. The last story I have for you with this is a really, I don't want to call her a horrible mom, but it was very intense. So, this is one of the rare times that I ever drove in the morning, like commuter traffic type thing, like, picking people up, driving them to work or school or whatever. So I think it was like a Wednesday morning, and I was in Rosemead, and she was like in Alhambra or something like that. It wasn't like crazy far, but it wasn't crazy close. So like when I accepted the ride, it said I was 16 minutes away. So I start going, maybe like, I want to say like 10 minutes into the ride, I get a call from her. Like, I should have canceled the ride right then and there because she was really upset on the phone, and in my head I kind of knew it was gonna go bad, but then I was like, no, maybe she's just anxious because she's late or whatever. It'll be fine once she gets in the car and starts getting to where she needs to be. So she's on the phone, like pretty much already from the get-go yelling at me about where I was, why was I taking so long. And I'm like, well, when I accepted the ride, it said I was 16 minutes away, and I'm still, like 10 minutes away. I ended up hitting a little bit more traffic than usual, so the thing on the ride increased my time, my ETA, by like 3 minutes or something. So instead of me getting there in 16 minutes, I ended up getting there in 20. It took me a minute more than Uber said I was going to be there. So she was already like yelling at me because it said on her end that I was 10 minutes away. And I'm like, no, it said on my end I was 16 minutes away. She's like, well, can you just drive? Like, just get here? And I was like, I'm trying, like doing my best, but I could only go as fast as traffic will let me go. Like, not once was I rude to her on the phone or when she was in the car. I just kept reminding her that I can't go faster than traffic will allow me to. I wasn't trying to run red lights or, stop signs for her. Like, I kind of feel like if you have somewhere to be, then maybe you should order an Uber, like, earlier than you need it to be, to accommodate for traffic or accidents and things like that. So I was trying to explain to her in like the nicest way possible. So she ended up hanging up on me after telling me, well, just get here. Like, all right, again, my bad. I should have canceled the ride. So she I end up coming up to her house. She's on a in apartment buildings on the left hand side of me. So I get into the middle lane to make a turn, a left hand turn into her apartments, and pick her and her son up in the parking lot. Well, she starts like going like that to me in the like on the side of the street, and I'm like, okay, I'm like waiting for the cars to pass so that I can make the left hand turn. Like, why is she telling me to stop when I'm already stopped? So next thing I know, as soon as the cars stop and I was ready to make the left-hand turn, she grabs her son and like drags him across the street towards me. And I'm freaking out like, oh my God, you're doing this in the middle of traffic? Because there was still a ton of traffic coming on this side of me, on the right-hand side. Well, she gets to the right-hand side instead of going through the door on the left-hand side. She like flings my door open, literally like throws her kid in and slams the door and tells me drive. And I'm like, holy shit, like that just happened. So I'm like, okay, I swipe the little thing to start the ride and I start going. And she's like, no, don't follow those directions. I'm gonna tell you where to go. I'm like, okay. So right off the bat, she had attitude with me and then starts chewing me out again. Why was I so late? Why did it take so long? It told her I was gonna be this long and I took longer. And I'm like, well, again, I already told you, there's traffic. I can only go as fast as traffic will allow me, blah, blah, blah. She's super irate trying to yell at me, but I wouldn't let her yell at me. I just kept telling her, it it is what it is. Like, I'm sorry you're late. I'm sorry we're in a rush now, but kind of should have ordered it earlier. And she shut it up. I feel like at that point, maybe I should have let her yell at me, like in hindsight, because she ends up turning to her son, who's sitting right behind me, and yelling at him for 35 minutes. 35 minutes. And she wasn't just yelling at him, she was like scolding him, and then she started degrading him. Like, so bad. He was in tears, crying like so bad that snot was running down his nose, like, and he starts wiping it on his sweater. She was yelling at him about, I guess, like, he didn't, when he went into the bathroom to brush his teeth and wash his face, I guess he didn't wash his face to her standards because he left like a little smudge on his cheek or something. And I guess he had been wearing a certain shirt of his all weekend to play in. And okay, maybe it was a Monday morning. Yeah, it was a Monday. But he had been wearing this shirt. I guess she told me after that it was like his favorite shirt. But he had worn it all weekend to play in, so it was a little dirty or whatever. And he is in charge of choosing his own clothes to wear to school. I guess he wore the same shirt that he had been wearing all weekend, and it had a little dirt stains, whatever. But yeah, he was in that shirt. So she was calling him all these horrible names. Like, I mean, things that I don't think anybody should ever call anybody. And she's calling her 7-year-old son those names. She was calling him a dirty little pig, a dirty little N-word. I mean, like, anything she could to degrade that little boy, she was calling him. And I was like, well, do I say something or just mind my own business because that's not my son? But I felt so bad for him because I could see him in the rearview mirror, like just in tears. And then she made him put on a sweater. He was already in sweats because it had been like raining that weekend or whatever, but for some reason that morning it was already getting kind of warm. He was in sweats, his t-shirt, and he had a sweater with him. She puts the sweater on him, zips him up, and starts threatening him that she might pop in earlier in the day and she better not catch him without that sweater on and zipped all the way up to cover his shirt, because she would have beat the shit out of him. Like, her words. She told him, like, she doesn't care who tells him to take the sweater off or how hot he gets. If God himself came down and told him to take the sweater off, he better not take that sweater off. I mean, I was just like, eee. No, you didn't, lady. Like, that's so mean. I was scared. I thought she was gonna start, like, whipping my ass. Like, I was like, ooh. So I didn't know how to react. Like, what do you say to that? Like, don't yell at your kid? I mean, like, oh my God. So I was just trying to get him to school as fast as I could because I wanted her to stop yelling. So he's like leaking snot, wiping it on his sweater. She starts yelling at him for that. And I thought maybe like the closer we got to his school, she would maybe stop and try to convince him to calm down or comfort him, like, I'm sorry, it wasn't that big of a deal, something to get him to calm down. She let him out of the door, like, still crying and full of snot. And I was just like, okay, so now he's gonna have a bad day at school because of, like, the way you let him go to school. Like, who does that? I drive her 10 more minutes to her work, and she's trying to, I guess, get me to agree with her about how dirty her son was and how, like, irresponsible it was of him to wear a dirty shirt or waste time in the bathroom not washing his face. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to agree with you on that because boys will be boys. Like, I should know, I have 2 boys and I have an 8-year-old daughter. Never, ever would I yell at my kids that way or degrade them. And my boys are older now. Like, you probably can't tell because of my age or whatever. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old boy. I've been there with them wearing dirty clothes or not completely washing their face, not even brushing their teeth sometimes, And I kind of feel like once they get a certain age, that's on them, to take care of their personal hygiene. If they go to school looking like that, nobody's gonna sit there and be like, oh my God, your mother must be so dirty, because you are. Once they get a certain age, it kind of is their responsibility to take care of their own bathroom habits and, cleanliness. I'm not gonna lie, my kids have gone to school like that a few times, and as a parent, you kind of like let them learn from their mistakes. If kids are gonna make fun of them at school for being dirty, then that's because they did it. But at 7 years old, yeah, I wasn't letting them wear dirty clothes to school because I was on top of making sure how they looked at 7. At 7, I kind of think you're not responsible enough, maybe to choose your clothes, but then that's where the parent comes in and looks at them and makes sure, that they match or that they're not wearing dirty clothes. I mean, those kind of things. With my daughter, I do let her choose her own clothes, but I give her the once over before she walks out the door to go anywhere. Like, that's just a part of being a parent, Like, you make them do the checkoff. Did you brush your teeth? Did you wash your face? Let me see what you're wearing. Because, I mean, there's times where it could be pouring rain outside and my daughter wants to wear, shorts and a tank top. And I'm like, no. And now that my boys are 12 and 15, they're completely in charge of what they wear and how they look when they walk out the door. But I always remind them, you're not going to get a girlfriend looking the way you look if you look like a complete slob. So, I don't know. I could not, agree with her at all on that. And I feel like that kind of made her more angry. But, alright guys, that's it for today. Maybe next week I'll do a story on some of the drunk ones I've got. Till then, see you guys next time. Bye!